Something the Pope is calling our attention to is how much we underestimate the effect of technology on political problems. Papa Leone, Pope Leo XIV, has just weighed in on internet porn. In recent times, addictions like drugs, alcohol, which continue to be the prevalent ones, are joined by the use of the internet, computers and smartphones. It doesn't only have clear benefits, but with overuse, it results in dependencies with bad outcomes for your health that have to do with gambling, with porn, and the almost constant presence on platforms of the digital world. These addictions become an obsession, changing behavior in daily life. These phenomena, more often than not, are the symptoms of mental problems and the inner malaise of the individual and a decay of social values. He goes on. The whole statement is worth listening to. First of all, it's very interesting. It's not just about porn. He also points out that there's a big problem now with compulsive gambling on the internet. And I agree. I know plenty of people, plenty of my friends enjoy sports gambling on the internet, which has recently been legalized and normalized. I'm a little more cautious about that. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. Having little bets here and there can be a lot of fun, but if you're regularly, compulsively engaging in gambling, that can be really, really damaging. And then, of course, the clearest addiction problem that's come out of the internet is pornography addiction. And the Pope is taking this on. He's doing this, I think, quite intentionally. I think he knew he was going to do this when he picked his name, Leo XIV, because he took inspiration from his predecessor, Leo XIII, who dealt with the problems of the modern world, specifically with industrialization, and wrote really important encyclicals, Rerum Novarum notably, about industrial society and how it was changing our moral outlook and behavior, and how the Catholics need to react to it, how Christians broadly should react to it. And it was highly political, and this is pretty political as well. But it also calls to mind, whether you're Catholic or not Catholic, whether you like the Pope, whether you hate the Pope, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Something the Pope is calling our attention to is how much we underestimate the effect of technology on political problems. I think we, the kind of people who follow political news, read the paper, watch the shows, follow every happening in the Senate and the House, we tend to get abstract, and we think it's all about ideology. And it's just those crazy radical leftists and their ideas, almost abstracted from the tangible world. I'm guilty of it sometimes too. We all do that. We think it's all ideology. But the ideology doesn't just occur and grow in a vacuum. It is intimately intertwined with technology, with the real tangible physical aspects of the world. You know, this does lead to, I think of the School of Athens, famous painting by Raphael, of Aristotle and Socrates, walking the School of Athens, Aristotle and Plato. Plato's pointing up, Aristotle's pointing down. Because for Plato, his philosophy is all about the forms that are kind of floating in outer space. And for Aristotle, it's all incarnate. Philosophy is all embodied. It all has a connection to the physical world. And Aristotle's right. Go to helixsleep.com/Knowles. The holidays are approaching. That means your calendar is probably packed with hosting duties, shopping lists, to-dos. When life gets this hectic, sleep often takes a back seat. But that is when you need it most. And quality rest is what keeps you energized for holiday prep, helps you stay patient with family, lets you enjoy the season instead of just surviving it. If your mattress is not giving you the deep, comfortable sleep that your body craves, you are starting every day at a disadvantage. That's where Helix comes in. Finding the right mattress does not have to be guesswork. Helix makes it simple. With their sleep quiz, it asks you about your preferences, your sleep style, then it matches you with the mattress that is right for you. They're not just making promises. Helix is the most awarded mattress brand out there with glowing reviews from Forbes, Wired, and other trusted experts. They deliver straight to your door with free shipping, no hauling anything yourself. They give you a 120 nights Helix guarantee. Try it out. They give you a limited lifetime warranty. Returns and exchanges are seamless. It's risk-free, and it's fantastic. I love it. I was just on the road. I've had my Helix mattresses for a long time. I was just on the road a little bit. It's hard to sleep when you're on the road. And then I got to come home to my home full of Helix mattresses. Go to helixsleep.com/Knowles for 27% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/Knowles for 27% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name into the post-purchase survey so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/Knowles. So think about the way that technology has shaped our ideological fights, going all the way back. The printing press, the invention of the printing press, caused the crack up of Europe, of what we used to call Christendom. Now we call it the West because we killed Christendom because of the printing press. And the Protestant narrative on this is that the printing press allowed the Bible to be translated and sent out, and then people discovered the true gospel, which had been hidden for 1,500 years, and they discovered it now, and that's what led to a revolt against the Catholic Church. That's like the Reformation kind of narrative about it. I obviously don't quite agree with that. There were plenty of translations of the Bible elsewhere. The reason the Bible was not widely circulated was because it was extremely expensive. The reason that it was sometimes locked up in churches or on a chain is because these things were worth the equivalent of tens of thousands of dollars and they could be robbed. And anyway, I think that's historically, the whole narrative is quite dubious. But the thing we should all agree on is what the printing press allowed was the publication not just of the Bible, but of political tracts, invectives, polemics, Luther's 95 Theses, to be printed, widely circulated. And that led to a political crack-up of Europe, first in Germany and then everywhere else. There is no crack-up of Europe. There is no major religious war. There is no Peace of Augsburg or Peace of Westphalia without the printing press. It did it. The automobile. Fast forward a little bit. The automobile caused teen culture, rebellious teen culture, going out, having a separate teen culture from the broader social culture. And teenagers going out and hooking up and whatever, going and doing drugs and stuff. That was facilitated by the automobile. If you don't have an automobile, then teenagers can't go sneak out a lot of the time and, form their own habits and views and lead to that kind of rebellious spirit that really came about in the 1950s and 60s and 70s. That was caused by the car. Even going back to the Enlightenment, I'm hopping around time zones here, but the mechanical clock, the invention and development of the mechanical clock impelled Enlightenment deism, the ideas of the Enlightenment, and specifically deism, this idea that, okay, maybe God exists, but he's like a clockmaker. He just builds the clock, winds it up, and then it runs on his own without his interference. These are ideas that were prominent even with the founding fathers of the United States. Those ideas would not have gained currency without the technological innovation of the clock. That was the idea, or rather, that was the fact that made these ideas seem to make sense to people. There would be no Freud without the steam engine. Freudian psychology is just an articulation of the technology of the steam engine. We use that phrase. We say people just got to blow off a little steam. They don't want to repress everything. They got to let it out a little bit. That's where that comes from. Bring it back to Congress. Part of the reason that Congress is so dysfunctional today is because of C-SPAN. C-SPAN, which goes into the House of Representatives in 1979, goes into the Senate in 1983 or 84, I think it was, starts televising all of the deals, all of the arguments, that made Congress much less functional because all of a sudden the senators are not just trying to persuade each other and they're not just playing to the print media that would write about what happened. They're playing to the cameras. I did it myself the other day. I was testifying before the Senate 2 weeks ago, and I knew the cameras are on me. So I wanted to humiliate Cory Booker because he was endorsing Jay Jones who called for the murder of Republicans. And I played that for the camera. And you know what? It worked. And it went super viral. And it did shame Cory Booker. And he ran out of the room. And there was a Cory Booker-shaped hole in the wall. My argument would have been different had that technology not been in the room. And it's not just me. That's one tiny example of how all of the legislators operate. technology is a huge part of it. And the people on the left and the right, they get so abstracted. They get so in their own heads about their ideology. We have to grapple with, we still haven't grappled with the internet. We tried to in the 90s. Both Democrats and Republicans tried to pass laws. They passed 2 laws, actually, trying to regulate porn, specifically on the internet. The Communications Decency Act, which was gutted by judges, and the Child Online Protection Act, which also was gutted by judges. So we weren't able to do it. Now, with the development of AI, it's only going to get worse. So many of these problems, the transgender ideology, notably, are a result of technology. Because if we didn't live all of our lives on these screens in the compulsive way that the Pope is talking about here, if we didn't live our lives in that way, then we wouldn't have this crazy idea that our identity has nothing to do with our bodies. The reason that ideology was able to set in is because it was largely true. A lot of our identity is just mediated through a screen, and the body has nothing to do with it. Now, ultimately, that's contrary to reality. And so it leads to that big crack up that you saw in the transgender fight a couple of years ago, that you're still seeing play out today, including with revisiting Obergefell. But it doesn't come from nowhere. That was a great clip. Now stop, ring the bell, subscribe. We'll see you next time.